Alright, so let's talk about Wolcen. Wolcen is an action RPG akin to games like the Diablo franchise and Path of Exile. It is set to release January 30th, 2020. In this game, you take control of a character who is part of a military known as the Purifiers, who are in charge of defending their republic against the supernatural beings in their world. You and two of your friends battle against criminals, subterranean creatures, and an evil covenant aiming to bring back an evil primordial being. During this process, you discover an apocalyptic power within yourself and eventually become branded a supernatural enemy by your own faction. So far with Wolcen, we've been able to access a beta allowing us to play through the story of Act 1 and then participate in an endgame activity known as the Expedition Maps. On full release, the game will have 3 acts. So on to the basics of the Wolcen Beta. Starting a new game, you create a character, selecting one of 3 classes. The classes is just a starting base, since in this game you can obtain and use every ability in the game, change weapons at any point, which allows the use of specific skills, and even pay with currencies to redistribute spent stat and skill points. So picking a melee class, for example, will not permanently lock you into a melee style role if you decided to change your playstyle to a mage or something. You can play the game solo or with up to 3 other players. You start off a game at level 1 and can progress to a maximum level of 20. During level ups, you get 10 stat points you can distribute between 4 main stats. These stats are Ferocity, which primarily affects melee damage, Toughness, which is for health and defense, Agility, which affects range damage and dodging, and then there's Willpower, which affects spellcasting and ailment effectiveness. Also on level up, you obtain skill points. Skill points are used within your passive skill tree known as the Gate of Fates to acquire passive bonuses. The Gate of Fates has 2 spinning wheels containing passive skills, currently accessible in the beta, with a 3rd ring becoming available in the full release. Red passive nodes focus more towards melee and health benefits, and also rage generation. Green focuses more on more dexterous abilities such as dodging, critical hits, and ranged attack buffs. And finally, the blue willpower nodes focus more on spellcasting, applying ailments to enemies, and willpower buffs. You can unlock nodes by using a skill point and adjacent nodes branching out to different areas within the skill tree. You can rotate the rings of skills, allowing different acquired passives to connect to multiple different areas, such as ending your first wheel with a red node and connecting to a blue section within the next one, allowing more in-depth customization to you and your character's overall build. With skills and abilities, you find them from random world drops or from purchasing later in the game from an NPC in the main town hub. You are able to learn any and all skills within your character, but all skills are limited in its usage by what type of weapon is required to be equipped. For example, to use a lightning strike and other casting style spells, you typically need a staff or a catalyst equipped, while melee abilities usually need a weapon such as an axe or a sword equipped. Some melee style skills separate themselves as well by requiring daggers and bows instead of swords and hammers. Skills equipped on your action bar will level up currently to a max of 20 in the beta. You are able to have repeated skills drop within the game and can then sell those skills to an NPC in town, giving you a currency that's used specifically for ranking up abilities or buying new ones. The game utilizes a waypoint system akin to other action RPGs, allowing fast travel between discovered areas such as the main town. You also have a teleport ability which you can use almost at any time to head back to the main town and then use it to return back to where you were. After you progress through the Act 1 campaign, you unlock 2 new NPCs which offer endgame activities. One NPC gives a bounty quest which, once accepted, will open a portal to an area in which you need to complete a certain task, such as killing specific enemies. Once this is completed, you can teleport back to town and receive gear rewards. This activity seems static for level 20 difficulty and also for its rewards. So after a while, you probably won't need to do this bounty quest and you can go over to the second NPC that gives another activity, which is where the beta's true endgame focus begins. You speak with him and have access to a difficulty and a modifier screen for designing your own randomly generated dungeon. At first, you can only access adept difficulty and then spend gold multiple times to increase magic find percentages and enemy difficulty. Once started, a portal opens and you push through a dungeon, killing enemies to fill a progress bar on the right side of the screen. Once this bar is filled, a boss encounter will spawn somewhere on the map with a yellow arrow indicator pointing towards its location. Upon defeating the boss, you'll be given 2 portals. A blue one to end the activity and return to town and collect a reward for this completion, and a red portal that allows you to start another dungeon map that is more difficult and potentially more rewarding. You can continuously push further until you are satisfied with your loot and you want to return to town, or until you die too many times. One thing of note is that in these activities, if you're playing solo, you're given 3 revives before you fail the activity and are forced back to town. When you're forced back to town, you get to keep all the loot that you picked up, but you do not get to get a reward from the NPC. In a multiplayer game, you're able to get revives immediately, but if all of your teammates die at once, you fail the activity and you return to town. With the difficulty starting at Adept for this activity, doing consecutive encounters and choosing to continue through the red portal 3 times will unlock the next difficulty you're able to start at, which is Veteran +1. The magic find increases, as does enemy level and difficulty. 3 more portal completions unlock Veteran +2, and so on, eventually pushing into Champion difficulties, which can be incredibly difficult to survive. There is also another option in the activities when adding modifiers to the difficulty. If you add 4 modifiers, you're given a new option of luring Untainteds with 2000 primordial affinity into the map. With this selection, enemies do not drop loot, and instead you get a chest of greater rewards at the end of the boss encounter. Along the way, you're periodically attacked by untainted enemies, which are more difficult to defeat. As far as gear goes, there are 5 types of rarity that progressively have increased stat modifiers, and from lowest to highest rarity we have white items that are very common and basic, blue-colored uncommon items, yellow-colored rares, bronze-colored legendary gear, and then purple-colored uniques. Legendaries and uniques are much harder to find and typically drop more often from the endgame activities, though you can find some uniques from time to time as you're progressing through the game. Uniques are specific item types that have special modifiers unique to them, and these unique items can sometimes have modifiers allowing you to use skills that you could not normally use in its weapon type, such as a 2-handed unique sword that allows lightning skill usage, which normally requires a staff or a catalyst equipped instead. Certain uniques can allow you to create many different build variations not normally allowed. Upon the full release, the game will offer a new UI that's redesigned, a female character to play as, 3 story acts to complete, a higher maximum character level, new abilities, along with a 3rd skill ring which will contain new subclass nodes, giving us even more ways to build our characters. In the alpha version, there used to be a town hub with other players hanging around, and also a housing system that we could customize, and I hope that these return in the full release. The game has a lot of potential, and it's great to have another option in the action RPG genre. Check out Steam if you're interested in buying Wolcen, and I hope to see you all in the game at the end of the month. Feel free to hit subscribe for more gaming content, and if you want to catch me streaming live, stop by my channel at mixer.com/Arcblight. As always, thanks for watching.